Hello and welcome, guys. We are here for the first match with another league of Simian Spirit Guide Amulet, Monkey Amulet, although I am aware, actually, that Simian Spirit Guide is in fact an ape spirit, so not quite a monkey, but, we don't worry about that kind of detail here. And I wanted to jump back in with some Simian Spirit Guides after the last league that we played, which was the league with Simian Spirit Guide and Karns in the main deck as per Danilo Rubino's request. And I felt like I jumped into the deep end of the pool without learning how to swim when it came to that deck list. I don't think, looking back at my plays, that anything that I did was egregious, but I feel like we had too many things going on. So here, I'm trying to simplify things a bit and get more of a feel for specifically Simian Spirit Guide and Amulet by playing only Simian Spirit Guide and no Karns. And in order to help maximize the things that we did see Simian Spirit Guide doing, for example, casting turn 2 3-drops off of 2 lands and a Simian Spirit Guide and a 3-drop, which comes up more often than you might think, we have added 2 Azusas. We are now playing 3 Azusas and 4 Dryads, as opposed to just the 1 Azusa and 4 Dryads, to help maximize that ability of Simian Spirit Guide. And failing that, we can still use Simian Spirit Guide to activate an early Castle Garenbrig or something along those lines, or play turn 1 Amulet before starting to do things with bounce lands and grazers or whatever. Maybe we can get some crazy draws like that, we'll see. But here, we are trying to evaluate just the effectiveness of Spirit Guide, and we're doing so without the red splash in the sideboard. Before, we were playing Boils, now we are not, and we have cut the Stomping Ground that had been in the deck list for the 9th bounce land being the Golgari Rot Farm. I find that maximizing your top decks is probably a good idea when it comes to playing Simian Spirit Guide. And so that is the changes we've made to the main deck. In the sideboard, I'm also testing out a card that I've been very excited to try, and that card is Wilt. It is a 2-mana naturalize effect that either destroys an artifact or an enchantment, and for 2 mana, you can cycle it. I think that this card right here could come in very useful against these Blood Moon strategies that have been popping up. Everybody is playing Blood Moons in their main deck or sideboard these days, and Wilt is one way to combat that. But at the same time, if we are playing against one of those mono-red decks where they're putting aggressive pressure on us and they happen not to have the Blood Moon, we can always cycle the Wilt out of our hand and look for more stuff to do, maybe a Titan to cast, for example. That is the idea, and we'll give Wilt a shot here. We also do have a copy of Pact Negation and the 2 explosives here in the sideboard. That is because we don't have any in the main deck, no explosives or Pact Negation, of course. And the reasoning for that is, like I said, we're trying to maximize our normal things to do type stuff. We're trying to maximize casting Primeval Titan a turn earlier, in fact, with the Simian Spirit Guide, hopefully. And that is the idea. So we don't want any extra cards like Pact Negation or Engineered Explosives in our main deck to clog up our hand. Say we have a hand with lands, Simian Spirit Guide, and Engineered Explosives. That hand is probably not a keep, especially in the blind. Now we are moving them to the sideboard, and that is where they reside. Everything else is pretty standard. We have our relics here to fight those blue Uro Snapcaster Mage type matchups, and yeah, I'm excited to jump into the league. I will see you guys there. Alright, seems like we have a match. On the play? Is that too much to ask? Oh, apparently we don't even get to know. But we are on the play. That's fantastic. Playing against Dent 249. Interesting name. And we see a hand that actually is the type of hand that would greatly benefit from a Simian Spirit Guide, but we don't have that, and we'll have to make a do. We get to play a turn 2 Amulet here, which is not the worst. We actually have a turn 3 Titan thanks to the abilities of Castle Garenbrig. We're going to play Garenbrig and Amulet this upcoming turn, and then turn 3 we'll play Azusa off of Bounce Land plus one of the Garenbrigs, leaving one untapped. And we should be able to make Titan mana through the second Garenbrig that will be untapped throughout the whole sequence. Yep, so here goes an Amulet. If we don't get Force of Negation here, playing it's a Flooded Strand deck, and we don't, it goes through. Intriguing. I don't know if we want to save the Bog. We probably do in case they do have Uro or Snapcaster Mage, so let's go ahead and throw the Garenbrig into play. The only thing that this harms us through is the land names for Field of the Dead, but I feel like if we resolve a Primeval Titan against a blue deck, we're probably in pretty good shape, so. As we do see Hallowed Fountain over there. Is it possible we'll be facing down Stoneforge Mystic? We will see. Do we go for the Titan? I think our Azorius is probably not even going to resolve. Dang. Well, we have Titan mana in just one play of the Gruul Turf. Let's see if our opponent responds to this Amulet. Because we definitely don't need the second one, and we'd rather them counter this. And they don't. Alright, well... I guess we're going for the Azorius, and if it resolves, then we can go for the Dryad. And then if that resolves, maybe we go for the Titan, maybe we don't. I don't even know. Alright, Azorius. See if it works. We're playing around Logic Knot for one. Aether Gust in the main board? Say what? Well, can we afford to top that one? See, next turn, we'll be able to play Gruul Turf. We'll have at least 5 mana that we can use, so we can cast Azorius. If it doesn't resolve, then we can play... Actually, I suppose we can play Gruul Turf, activate Garenbrig, float 6, leaving 1 Garenbrig open, play Azorius. If it doesn't resolve, then play Dryad, play Gruul Turf again, activate 2nd Garenbrig, and play Titan. So I think we do want this Azorius on the top, weirdly enough. And we'll pass it back. Very odd double Garenbrig draw. Funnily enough, these lines wouldn't have been possible if we had played the Bojuka Bog on turn 2 instead of the 2nd Garenbrig, so... Alright, a Teferi is no big deal. We'll be dealing with that one shortly. Assuming our opponent doesn't have a Force Negation, I think we're pretty much just lined up to just win the game here, so... They did not even minus on an Amulet, which they probably should have, but, you know, who's keeping track? I certainly am not. I don't know how many land drops we're going to have this turn. We've played 1, we get an additional 3, so that means that we have 3 left. I'm assuming that both of our creatures are going to resolve here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure our opponent is dead this turn if they are just F6ing here, so... Because we can use our first Titan to get a second Titan into play and then haste both. Probably. Yeah, alright. They're going to go ahead and concede to make it easy for us here. That is very nice of them. We saw Teferi, but we don't know for sure whether they have Stoneforge Mystic or not. I think it's safe to bring in Dismembers in case, because even if they're not playing Stoneforge, they'll probably have something like Vendilion Click. And same with Beast Within. It will hit Swords or Teferis or Ashioks, all the same. And obviously we're going to want Relics here to make sure our opponent can't Mystic Sanctuary back or Snapcaster back their Aether Gusts. This is a matchup where I don't like Grazer at all, and where I don't like Simian Spirit Guide at all either. And the reason being, we don't want to be going down a card to go up in mana or lands. Grazer being a card from our hand that is not replacing itself like Explore, that just lets us play an additional land drop, is almost the same as mulliganing. Not really the best effect here, and Simian Spirit Guide is much along the same line. Obviously, we want this Pact Negation as well. I think we might be able to safely cut one Azorius, although they do let us play something before a Dryad to try to bait out counter magic. I kind of like trimming one Summoner's Pact. And if we do end up making more changes to play around Stoneforge Mystic, perhaps bringing in Wilt, for example, then... I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, we can bring in Wilt, and at the very worst, we'll just cycle it. So it's probably pretty safe to bring in a couple copies. I'll bring in a few Wilts. And here, we can... What I was going to say is we can trim a couple copies of Garenbrig, at least one, because we're unlikely to be casting a Titan by activating Garenbrig here. And one other card, I don't mind trimming Turn Timber, as it is very weak to Remand and Mana Leak and Force Negation, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that one out. And we'll run it back like this. Just the mono 1-drop artifact deck over here. This hand desperately needs a actual green source, but... I mean, we have a Cavern to force through this Dryad, which is probably pretty good to keep, so we're going to keep. Would like to be able to cast this Explorer on turn 2, so... there we go. There we go. Alright, let's go ahead and get this Fountain out there. And pass it back. We'll be casting Explorer on turn 2. Our opponent can leak it or remand it or gust it or whatever if they want to. I don't see why they would even bother, but they could do that. We'll see if they play a turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic here. The way our hand currently is, that might be a little difficult for us to handle. They don't. Okay. Explore time. Counter if you must. And I don't think we want to expose our Cavernous Souls to a field. Oh, they do gust it. Okay. Well, let's bottom that one. We know what we're doing with our mana next turn. We'd rather draw a Bounce Land or a Primeval Titan, although we have a Summoner's Pact, so maybe not the Primeval Titan, but really we'd like to draw a Bounce Land here. So. And now we can safely bog away our opponent's graveyard and feel good about it. And there's the Field of Ruin that we were playing around. Or we're going to play around. So let's go ahead and get this Dryad into play, guaranteed. Our opponent probably has a second Gust here, now I'm thinking about it, but... I mean, that's the only explanation for why they would just throw away the first one, but we'll see if that's the case. I assume this is going to be a Gust. Yep. Alright, this one... we can probably put on top. Yeah, we'll put that one on top. The reason being, we already have a Valakut to go along with it, and unless our opponent is just going to go ahead and field our Cavern immediately and try to shuffle away our Dryad, it'll give us something to do this upcoming turn. If they don't field us, it'll be uncounterable, so it plays through Mana Leak and Remand, and if they do field, then at least we got them to use the field. And putting it on the bottom wouldn't have been any different in this scenario than putting it on the top. It might have forced our opponent to use their Field of Ruin, which, admittedly, maybe that's not the greatest thing, but I think it's probably a good idea to have just gone ahead and tried to redraw this Dryad. And now we'll see what we get instead. A Garenbrig. That one's not too bad. We definitely want to get these double Aether Gusts out of here, so first things first. No more Aether Gusting for you, opponent. Not allowed. Not even remotely close to allowed. And we get to play some additional land drops if this resolves. A delay. Okay, fine. I see what you're trying to do here. Admittedly, in 3 turns, I don't think this Azusa will be quite as good as it would have been this turn, but... you know what, that's okay, I'm fine. There's absolutely no way that we can cast 2 Pacts here. Unfortunately for us. Actually, let's not yield, because we may need to Summoner's Pact if our opponent plays an Ashiok this turn. Okay. Well, we get to resolve a Titan. And get Field of Ruin. Not Field of Ruin, Field of the Dead. And get the zombies. So... I guess our opponent gets to hold up mana here. I don't know. Things might be bad, but... our opponent has already used so many 2-mana interaction spells. I think I'm going for the Titan here. If they have it, they have it. But that's fine with me. I suppose we could also get a Dryad. I mean, that plays into Path to Exile, so I'm thinking probably not. Yeah, let's just go for the Titan. They did not have the Force, so that's good. They do have the Gust. We'll put the Titan on top and pass it back. Yeah, things are looking kind of rough now. We have to pay our Pact this upcoming turn. I guess in 2 turns we can slam Titan with Pact of Negation back up, so... especially if we're able to haste our Titan, we might be alright here. Time Raveler. Well, now we can't use Pact of Negation as backup. Well, this game is quickly slipping away. I guess we'll just have to hope that our opponent does not have it. Oh, that also means we won't be able to cast our Azusa. How rude. How rude. Almost yielded to Summoner's Pact. I have the feeling that could potentially lead to some pretty bad outcomes. We're not playing Sakurai Tribe Scout, so it's probably not as impactful as you might imagine, but... alright, we'll play our red source so we can haste our Titan this upcoming turn. When we slam it into our opponent's open 6-7 mana. We can't not slam it with our opponent's Teferi on the battlefield, though. Time is only making our Titan worse. Colonnade. That's a clock. So, yeah. We are going to cast this Titan, and if it does not resolve, we will concede the game. Pretty much. We might have one additional turn to try to stop this Teferi from ulting. Assuming we draw exactly Primeval Titan either this turn or the turn after. So, we'll see. Nothing we could have done to, and now we can't make this disappear, sadly. Make it as small as possible and put it out of the way. Alright, well, this is the turn. We ask them the question, do you have a counterspell? And if the answer to that question is yes, then we will concede. Or Path to Exile. Do we have to play into Path to Exile? That's a good question. I think that we don't have to play into Path. Looks like it doesn't matter, though. Alright, let's play one more turn. We'll play one more turn. I guess we... Why is Gruul Turf lighting up? Oh, we didn't play a land this turn. Yeah. Let's play the Gruul Turf. Pick up the Bog. Gets us a little bit of mana ahead and lets us get away our opponent's Cryptic Command. We don't like you here. Not that there's anything we can do about it. Alright, Titan off the top. Or Summoner's Pact. And we need it to resolve. And we need our opponent not to have a path. Oh, look. Mystic Sanctuary. Well, if our opponent has a way to draw a card here. Yeah. Well, if they have the opt... I mean, we were losing to so many things here, so... Titan? Nope. Alright. Concede game. Well, that's what happens when your opponent has 3 Aether Gusts and a delay. We didn't see any Stoneforge Mystics, so not necessarily that they don't have them, but I'm pretty sure that we don't need to play around them at this point. I think we'd rather have the Garen Brig, just to make sure we can hit our land drops. And I don't think the Simian Spirit Guide is all that bad against our opponent. I don't think it's that great, though. What do we want? Probably the Turn Timber. I think Turn Timber is going to prove to be better than Simian Spirit Guide here. And we will run it back. We get to be on the play this time. Alright, let's see what we can make of this game. A turn 1 Relic is always a good start against an Aether Gust deck. Yeah, this hand looks fine. And because we have Relic, we can freely play out our Bojuka Bog. Maybe we have Dismembers in our deck when we don't need to, but that's okay. I didn't even think about the Dismembers, but now I see this one sitting in our hand. Yikes. Alright, let's get this turn 1 Relic out there. A little bit unfortunate that we have 2 of our 4 basic lands in the opener here, but not much we can do about it. If we draw an Explorer, then we'll be casting it, and if we don't, then we'll be playing Bojuka Bog. Our opponent plays turn 1 Field of Ruin. Interesting. Well, there's the Explorer. I did tell you guys that this was going to happen. You heard it here first. Alright, opponent, force our Explorer. Oh my goodness, the Mad Lad actually did it. Well, let's get that force out of here and pass it back. I mean, this stops us from playing a 3-drop this upcoming turn, but admittedly, that's not the worst thing, because our opponent could have just used a delay, or an Aether Gust, or a Remand, or Mana Leak. Or they don't have another blue land. Okay. No untapped land to punish. Yikes. Alright, let's play the field. Save our Bojuka Bog for more important things. Don't think we're quite at the point of cracking our Relic yet, but we'll see. The Time Raveler, that one's fine. We'll just yield through this turn, since we can no longer do anything. I guess we could have popped our Relic in response to the bounce. That's probably not worth it, though. Alright, here comes our big bad threat. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Cower in Fear. The 2/4 is coming. Obviously, we got to play out our land drop here to try not to fall behind. And we'll pass it back. No point in Summoners Pacting. It's not like it plays around Force of Negation anyways, since it is during our turn, and yeah, we don't want to be tapped out this upcoming turn. So if we draw Garenbrig, then we'll just be able to cast Titan, and we'll just Summoners Pact that very turn, and it'll be no big deal. Field of Ruin or Field of the Dead. Yep. That is kind of annoying, but not much that we can do about it. It means that our Titans are going to have to be able to go the distance with just themselves and Dryad plus Valakut. No zombie tokens for us. It is possible we should be playing a second field, especially in a list that has Spirit Guides and very few other threats. So, definitely could put that one in the bank here. The bank of notes. Maybe we should have a second field. Let's go ahead and drop this relic. Probably transmuting for a bounce land here, I would imagine. Although our opponent can just field it, but even still, we would have 5 mana, so we'd be 1 short of Titan. I think we are going to need the bounce land. We could also try to get a Valakut and hope to just naturally draw another land. But we'd also have to play out the Valakut this turn. I guess we wouldn't have to, but interesting. Alright, let's clock our opponent's Teferi. Yep. Get the Teferi out of play. Alright, and I do think that we want to go ahead and transmute this Tolari West while we still have blue mana available. It really pains me, but I think we're supposed to get the bounce land here. We could also just straight up get a Garenbrig and be able to cast Titan this upcoming turn. That's interesting. Pact or Negation to Protect doesn't sound too bad. Or Cavernous Souls as well seems pretty good, although our Summoner's Pacts are going to be vulnerable to our opponent's counter magic anyways, and Cavern doesn't play around Aether Gust anyways. I think I'm just getting the Growth Chamber here. Doesn't feel great, though. But, gotta do what you gotta do. And that's not always yield to that. And let's pick up and play the Forest. That way we can cycle our Relic if we want to. Losing out on a little bit of Bajuka Bog value here, but I think that's a small price to pay to being able to draw an extra card if we decide that is the option. Our opponent's a Mystic Sanctuary entering tapped. Like to see that. Our opponent fields our little bounce land that we transmuted for. That is A-okay. Our opponent is staunchly representing Aether Gust, so I don't think there's any point in trying to just go ham and find a land here with our Relic. And we find the land anyways. Are we casting into our opponent's Gust? I don't think that we have a choice, in all honesty. So, let's lead on the Summoner's Pact. See what happens. Force of Negation, pitching Jace. That's fine. Lead on the Summoner's Pact. Alright, so maybe our opponent does not have the Aether Gust. They probably have a path to exile. I think I'm just getting double Valakut here. Phew, that's the match. Okay, well, we won match 1. I can't say that I expected to win in that fashion. I feel like our opponent scooped a little early, but only they knew what was in their hand, so maybe not, maybe not. But always feels good to be up a match here as we start out this league. Let me know your thoughts on the list. Let me know what you think about the ideology behind it. And yeah, I don't have much else to say other than I will see you guys in the next match. Thank you for joining me. This is Red Face Menace, signing off.